Tonight, we're going to talk about a robbery that shouldn't have worked. A robbery so bold, so simple, that even now, investigators still don't have the full story. Two men, fake police uniforms, 81 minutes inside a museum, and $500 million in art, gone. This is the story of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum theft. March 18, 1990. Boston, Massachusetts. It was just after 1 a.m., St. Patrick's Day night. The city had been partying. Police were busy. Streets were loud earlier. But now, quiet. Inside the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, the security guards were working the overnight shift. This museum wasn't like others, designed by Isabella Stewart Gardner herself, a wealthy, eccentric art collector. Built in 1903 to look like a 15th century Venetian palace, her rules stated, nothing could ever be rearranged. If anything moved, the collection forfeited. Everything inside was frozen in time, and that's how it remains. At 1:24 a.m., a buzzer rang at the museum's side entrance. On the security camera, the guard saw two men wearing police uniforms. One of them said they were responding to a disturbance call. Museum policy was crystal clear. After-hours entry, absolutely not, no exceptions. But it was St. Patrick's Day. The guards were young, inexperienced, and against protocol, they let the officers in. The moment the men stepped inside, everything changed. Within minutes, the officers told the guard there was a warrant for his arrest. They asked him to step away from the desk. He complied. One of the men said something chilling. "Don't worry. This is a robbery." They handcuffed him, then grabbed the second guard. Both men were duct-taped, handcuffed, and taken to the basement. The fake cops had total control, and they would remain inside the museum for 81 minutes. No rush, no panic, no alarms triggered. They moved through the galleries calmly, deliberately. They knew what they were looking for. The first target was in the Dutch Room, a painting by Rembrandt, not just any Rembrandt. The Storm on the Sea of Galilee. It's the artist's only known seascape, worth, at minimum, tens of millions. They didn't gently remove it from its frame, they sliced it out, with a blade. Then they took another Rembrandt, and another. Then something even stranger. They took a tiny, relatively obscure work by Johannes Vermeer, The Concert. At the time, Vermeer only had about 35 known paintings in existence. And now one was gone. They also stole works attributed to Edgar Degas. Sketches, old paintings. A bronze eagle finial from a Napoleonic flag, in total, 13 pieces. Estimated today to be worth over $500 million. Making it the largest art theft in history. And here's the part that makes investigators furious even now. They ignored masterpieces, a Titian hung nearby, untouched. Other valuable works, left behind, which suggests something critical. This wasn't random, they had a list. After 81 minutes, they walked out, got into a car, and disappeared into Boston's early morning darkness. The guards weren't discovered until 8:15 a.m., when the next shift arrived. Police were called, the museum was sealed, the art world went into shock. The empty frames still hang in the Dutch Room today, exactly where the paintings once were. A silent accusation, so who did it? The FBI eventually took over. And for years, the investigation seemed to point in one direction: organized crime in Boston, specifically, figures connected to the New England mob. At the time, Boston's underworld was dominated by powerful crime families. But here's the twist: there's no evidence Bulger ordered it. In fact, some investigators believe the thieves were smaller-time criminals trying to impress higher-ups. One major suspect was a man named Miles Connor, a known art thief who was already in prison at the time of the robbery. But here's why he matters: Connor had stolen art before and used it as bargaining chips to reduce his sentences. And that's the key theory in this case. The paintings weren't stolen to sell. They were stolen to trade. Art like that is almost impossible to sell on the open market. Too famous, too recognizable, but in the criminal world, their currency, you get arrested, you offer information on where the paintings are. Charges get reduced, sentence gets lighter. At least, that's the theory. Over the years, multiple suspects connected to organized crime died. Some were murdered, some overdosed, some just disappeared. And with them, potential answers. In 2013, the FBI made a major announcement. They claimed they had identified the thieves. They said the robbery was carried out by criminals associated with organized crime in the Mid-Atlantic and New England. But they refused to name them publicly, and they admitted something frustrating. They believed the paintings had been transported to Connecticut and later possibly to Philadelphia, but they didn't know where they were now. No arrests, no recoveries, just theories. In 2015, the statute of limitations expired for prosecuting the theft itself, meaning even if the original thieves were alive, they couldn't be charged for the robbery, only for possession. Meanwhile, the museum still offers a $10 million reward, the largest private reward ever offered for stolen art, and yet, nothing. Every few years, there's a rumor, a tip, an alleged sighting, a whisper of a painting hidden in a basement, or buried underground, or shipped overseas decades ago. But nothing ever materializes, and here's what makes this case so haunting. Art theft is often about greed, but this feels different. Because someone out there, maybe multiple someones, knows exactly where these paintings are. They might be sitting in a climate-controlled vault, or rotting in a damp storage locker, or destroyed long ago. And if they are destroyed, then one of the most important works by Rembrandt, one of the rarest Vermeers in existence, are simply gone, forever, all because two men knocked on a door in fake uniforms, and someone broke the rules. The empty frames still hang at the museum today. Visitors walk past them every day. They don't replace them, they don't fill the gaps. They leave them as reminders of what was taken, of what might still be out there, and of the night Boston lost $500 million in art in just 81 minutes. If the thieves are still alive, they're elderly now. If the paintings still exist, they've been hidden for over 35 years. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Was this a masterclass in criminal planning? Or was it a desperate gamble by small-time crooks that spiraled into the biggest art theft in history? And more importantly, will we ever see those paintings again? Or are those empty frames the final chapter? This is still an open case. And until those paintings come home, it remains one of the greatest unsolved heists the world has ever seen.